Bitch, I will drive to New Jersey to fight you, and your ugly kids can watch. Mom.
And good evening, Kentucky. I want to give you an update here. We have a severe thunderstorm warning, actually a severe thunderstorm capable of a tornado. A tornado warning is in effect for Jennings County. This is just off to the northeast of North Vernon. Let's get to max HD radar. This is quite a ways north of Metro Louisville. This is about 55 miles to the north of Louisville. I want to show you where you need to get in your place of shelter. Right here is where we have that tornado warned storm until 10:15 Eastern time. And this is actually a confirmed tornado on the ground from law enforcement. So a potential damaging tornado here just a little bit earlier at 9:38 p.m. A confirmed tornado located near North Vernon, 17 miles east of Seymour, and moving very slowly to the northeast at about 5 miles per hour. I want to take a look inside this. There is just a little bit of rotation that we can see with the radar in that area. So the reds and the greens next to each other kind of indicate some of that rotation in this location. So going back to our radar here, we'll put back on the warning and we will do a track on this. We'll actually zoom way in where that potential tornado is, and it would likely be here near Highway 50, just off to the east of North Vernon. So if you're in that location, please be seeking shelter at this time. It looks like it could be near the Buckeye Street area and Highway 50. This would be just to the south of Brewersville and Nebraska, likely between Nebraska and the North Vernon area. As we get in a little bit closer here, if you live near County Road 75, Private Road 350, County Road, in here a little bit closer, we can see this. Some of these streets are a little bit too small to see, but this is the area that we have the largest concern. We'll put a track on this as it moves very slowly to the northeast at just about 5 or 10 miles per hour. So it's actually nearly stationary at this time. So anywhere here near North Vernon and off to the northeast, please be seeking shelter. Basically, very low populated area in northeastern Jennings County is where you need to be seeking shelter. This is near the Nebraska area. This is west of Versailles and just east of downtown North Vernon, where again law enforcement has reported a tornado. In this kind of situation, it's a very low overall severe weather threat, but we have this boundary off to the north, and you can see the strong thunderstorms that have been firing up near Seymour, near North Vernon, and sometimes in very isolated instances, you can get just a little bit of spin, and sometimes we call these gust-nados, and they can produce winds 60, 70, 80 miles per hour and can do some damage, obviously, to some trees and power lines. A lot of lightning strikes as well in this location where we have this tornado warning. And again, this tornado warned storm is going to continue until 10:15. And this is, again, a little more serious situation because it's not just radar indicated. We do have this confirmed from local law enforcement there, and this is coming from the National Weather Service. And we're just kind of looking for any more reports about this confirmed tornado. So just looking over the National Weather Service from Indianapolis, which covers this area, this warning includes the towns of Butlerville, Muscatatuck, and Nebraska. And again, law enforcement spotting a tornado near the town of Butlerville. So this is that location that you need to be seeking shelter, lowest level of your home, away from the doors and the windows. We always say you can, the kids, if you have time, you can get the helmets, some of the sports equipment, blankets, whatever kind of protection. Get in away from the doors and the windows. You can get, if you don't have a basement, you can get inside the bathroom and be, again, away from the doors and windows. This is Highway 50 between Nebraska and North Vernon, where law enforcement did spot a tornado on the ground. We do not have any other reports of a tornado other than that at this time. I don't see any significant rotation. I'm looking at some of the wind speeds that the radar is picking up. Again, this is an unstable environment, so sometimes you can get little spin-ups with very limited notice. But right now, I'm not seeing a whole lot of rotation in this storm at this time. This tornado warning goes until 10:15. It will likely be canceled before that. Let me just take this back, and there's a little spike right there to the northeast of North Vernon where we had the potential, a little more rotation spotted there. Near the Butlerville area is where we have this report of a potential tornado on the ground. So there's Indiana 3 at Highway 50. Again, North Vernon, I think you are in the clear from this tornado threat. It looks like the worst part of that storm is to the northeast. This is very ragged stuff. It is not very organized whatsoever. It is heavy rainfall. It is lightning. Typically in a situation like this, you do not get a tornado because the winds are so light. This would be a very, very isolated instance of a tornado. Right now, we just don't have any other reports. This was observed by law enforcement. And now sometimes you can get very low clouds. We call them scud clouds. And they're cumulus congestus clouds that can get very low to the ground in this very humid environment. And sometimes it can look almost exactly like a tornado and not be a tornado. But for now, we will trust the reports that we are getting into the National Weather Service of a potential tornado on the ground just off to the east and northeast of North Vernon in northeastern Jennings County right now. So just want to get this information to you as quickly as we possibly can because we do have that report of a tornado on the ground. This is live Max HD radar here at 9:50 p.m. We apologize for breaking into programming, but again, wanted to get this first alert to you here. Again, tornado warning until 10:15, and we also have this information scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Just to give you some perspective of what we're talking about, this area is quite a ways to the north and northeast of Louisville. Doug?
Ben, I just got off the phone with the supervisor of the dispatch center at the North Vernon, Indiana Police Department. Her name is Sandra Curry. She said that the tornado was actually spotted first by a civilian and then several police officers who saw the tails of the tornado. They are still up in the area. She said they've really been inundated with hail, a lot of hail, so they're still searching the area. They do not believe they have any injuries or any fatalities, but they still really don't know what kind of damage they have because they're just out there in rural, in Jennings County near their military base called MUTC, where that is where it was seen on the ground. Again, they've had a lot of large hail, that they don't have exactly the right information to assess what kind of damage they have, but they had several reports of the tornado on the ground. She said they're not getting any dispatch calls, though, of any injuries or of any fatalities at this moment.
Yeah, not a very populated area. And again, in this environment, Doug, sometimes we can get look-alike tornadoes, and even if we got a weak tornado, sometimes the strength of these EF zeros that can sometimes make it to the ground can be just as strong as some locally damaging straight line winds, maybe 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. Either way, every tornado warning we want to take very seriously, so we want you to be in your place of shelter. This is right along Highway 50, just east of North Vernon and in east central Jennings County, and this will continue until 10:15. But as Doug mentioned, some civilians and also dispatch here, local law enforcement reporting the tornado on the ground. This was near Butlerville. This tornado warning again including the towns of Muscatatuck and Nebraska.
Okay, so you got those reports, okay. I may have been off mic here in a minute, but anyway, the police confirming that their officers, several of them saw it first by a civilian. And I'm going to call her back and talk to her in just a few minutes. She said, welcome to call her back. As they try to get to the scene of where maybe the touchdown occurred and see if any damage has happened as well.
And I'm looking here at the closest radar. This is pretty far away from Indianapolis's radar and also the Louisville radar. We are seeing some air going that way and some also going this way. So that indicates that there is the potential of some rotation just north of North Vernon in Indiana. So again, it's not very often that we get reports of a tornado on the ground visually being seen. So there are usually two reasons why we will get a tornado warning. If we see it on Doppler radar, we are seeing a little bit of rotation in this this area right here, basically, and then there's two reasons again, if it's seen, if it's visual, or if we see that rotation on the radar. So we are getting the confirmation that there is a tornado on the ground in the northeastern sections of Jennings County, and we are also seeing just a little bit of rotation on MAX HD radar. It's nearly a stationary storm. It is not moving very quickly. I just want to highlight some of these pixels here where there could have been some stronger winds. Zoom in a little bit closer, and we are seeing, you know, a lot of this is just not very conducive to tornado environment, but again, very isolated circumstances. You can see just a little bright spot in the middle of all of that rainfall. Here's a look at, again, the rain that we have. We're going to do a 1 hour loop, and you can see all the rain that continues to fall here in the northern half of Jennings County. It's basically right along and north of Highway 50 there in Indiana. This is 17 miles to the east of Seymour in the far northeastern sections of the WHAS viewing area. Again, especially since we have this confirmed by a civilian and law enforcement. So we've got several reports of a tornado on the ground. We will hang here until that threat subsides. Usually these will not last very long whatsoever. If we get a little spin up, and sometimes these form along gust fronts, and we call them a gustnado. They form a little bit different than an actual tornado, but they can still have winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. We don't have any confirmation of any damage at this time. And again, this area of concern, just so you know, if you're watching from other areas in the WHS 11 viewing area, this is about 50 miles to the north and northeast of Louisville is where we have this current tornado warning. And again, Doug Profit is making some phone calls up in this location. Going to check in with emergency management and some of the local law enforcement there. That is the area that we have that current tornado warned storm. So it's this area of concern. And so again, if you live near North Vernon, east of North Vernon, along Highway 50, and points just off to the north, you're going to be wanting to seek shelter at this time. This includes the towns of Butlerville, Muscatatuck, and Nebraska, as the tornado was spotted near the town of Butlersville. And it looks like Brewersville is very near this spot too. Occasionally when we get some concentration of lightning strikes, which we do, we've got about 50 lightning strikes in that tornado warned area in the northeastern section of Jennings County. That can also signify a very strong thunderstorm. And as we look at this in the 3D, the storm tops are going up to over 40,000 feet. This just signifies the potential even above that. This the heart of this storm going all the way up to about 50,000 feet. So occasionally when they pulse up that strong, you can get some rotation in these storms. And of course, in a very isolated instance, you can get a small tornado. So again, a confirmed tornado on the ground. This would be near Highway 50 in Indiana. Let me go back and just kind of look inside the storm. I'm kind of analyzing as I'm giving you the warned areas at the same time, so we can kind of keep up here and see where the threat area is. Overall, the winds surrounding this storm, again, are very light. We're not seeing any really strong rotation at this time. Here's just another radar view of this, and you know, we're seeing some of those greens and the reds next to each other, still just a little bit of rotation. Green is going towards the Indianapolis radar, red is going away, but this is all very broad rotation. This is not your classic supercell that you see in the springtime. And as we just kind of go back in time here, it's a very sluggish storm. It's moving very slowly. In fact, the tornado warning says that this cell is only moving at about 5 miles per hour. And again, this tornado warning continues for about 15 more minutes. So we will hang with you and until that threat subsides. So it still looks like areas near North Vernon, just off to the east of North Vernon, that flashing area under a tornado warning, and need to be seeking shelter in your safe place in your home. That would be the lowest level of your home, away from the doors and the windows, in your basement. If you have time to do so, please be seeking shelter at this time. This is between Holton and North Vernon, and near the Brewersville area is where we need to be seeking shelter right now. It still looks like the immediate area downtown of North Vernon is just outside of that threat area. But it's always safe to just stay inside. Anytime you hear thunder, you basically want to be seeking shelter indoors in that place of safety. So again, just a recap here, we've been on for about 10 to 15 minutes here covering this tornado put on the ground. This is not radar indicated. This is reported by the Indianapolis National Weather Service. They had a report by law enforcement of a tornado on the ground at about 9:35. The tornado warning coming out at 9:38. So this is a report from law enforcement with this strong thunderstorm that is currently putting down tons of rainfall, some hail, and it looks like the potential of still some rotation in that warned area just off to the east of North Vernon, potential of some rotation in that area. Again, I'll just highlight some of these areas to try to give you a little bit better idea. There's not a lot of towns in this location. And so this is, in fact, when I did that track right there, not a single town popped up in that location. When this tornado warning came out, indicated it was moving northeast at about 5 miles per hour. So this is a very slow moving storm. We'll try this again. And again, it's just Brewersville and Nebraska, some of these small towns in the way. So again, you want to be seeking shelter if you're in the way of the storm. Overall view here, we have non-severe thunderstorms off to the south of Louisville. You can see these are basically south of Elizabethtown and Hart County, Hodgenville, and Lebanon. Those are not severe. No warnings on those storms. We do not have actually a tornado watch. We don't have a severe thunderstorm watch. This is just a very, very isolated incident. Typically does not happen in an environment like this when you have very, very light winds. But sometimes you can get little boundaries to intersect. You can get gust fronts to put down perhaps not a full-fledged tornado, but what we sometimes call a gust-nado. But this is a strong cell nonetheless. Let's take a look at what the hail. It is putting down just a little bit of hail in that location. A lot of times if there is a tornado, it will be connected to a hail core, or a hail core is nearby. When a very warm environment like this, I know that says hail size 1 inch. A lot of times we will half that size because of some melting. So we might be seeing some nickel size hail in this location too, where we currently have this tornado warning that continues for about 9 more minutes. Again, it's been very hard to find any significant and tight rotation like we like to try to find. There is still a little bit of broad rotation that we see right there with the greens and the reds, basically right around this location here, just off to the northeast of North Vernon. So if you live near North Vernon, Brewersville, Nebraska, and Butlerville, these are the towns where there has been a confirmed tornado on the ground by law enforcement. So flying debris is always dangerous. Don't be caught without shelter. Mobile homes are easily damaged or destroyed. You want to find a sturdier shelter. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles can occur, and tree damage is likely when we get this. And when we have overall very light winds, and sometimes we get one of these brief tornadoes to touch the ground, or what we sometimes call a gustnado, it can produce winds very similar to isolated damaging straight line wind gusts. 60, 70, possibly up to 80 miles per hour. So that can possibly do some damage. An incredibly slow moving cell is what we have here. I'm going to do a loop over the last hour. I'm going to put back the lightning. You can see all the lightning strikes as well. And they're basically forming over the same areas. You have to watch out for some isolated flooding too. We have portions of our area under a flash flood watch, and the flash flood watch continues not for Jennings County, but for Jackson and for Lawrence counties in Indiana. But right now our main concern is, again, the warning that we have in effect for a little while longer. That red area that you see there is the tornado warning for Jennings County until 10:15 Eastern Time. Let me see if there's any update here with the National Weather Service. I see no additional reports. Still, again, around the Butlerville area, possible tornado on the ground observed by law enforcement and potentially some civilians there on the ground in this location. So please be seeking shelter again until 10:15, 10 more minutes. We have this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. And there you can see those towns anywhere near the North Vernon area, especially the east side of North Vernon. Just north of Grayford, Highway 50 between North Vernon and Nebraska, and near the Brewersville area. Anywhere in that location is where we could potentially see that tornado threat. This is the north half of Jennings County. Let me put on our radar back on here with the lightning strikes. And we will kind of take a look inside this storm once again with our velocity mode. And overall, we are talking some very light winds, and we are not seeing our typical tornado situation, that is for sure. So we're looking for bright greens next to bright reds, and there's just been this slow moving storm. So really, this general area that I've highlighted here has that potential. This could have happened very briefly. It could have only happened for a minute or two and then has possibly dissipated by now. But this is current live max HD radar that we're looking at here now at 10:06 p.m. on your Tuesday night. And we still have this tornado warning for northeastern Jennings County, just east of North Vernon. And we don't have any reports of damage so far. Just checking in on the chat with the National Weather Service. They're saying there are no extra details. The report was relayed from the public. The 911 center first received the report, and law enforcement is trying to get some more information about that. So that is the area still where we have a tornado warning. It's likely that if it happened, it probably didn't stay on the ground very long. This is not a very populated area. And you can see our lightning strikes here, 60 lightning strikes over the last hour or so. So Barry, if there's not a tornado on the ground, this is still a place where you want to be inside your in a safe place inside your home, lowest level of your home. We've got frequent cloud to ground lightning, the potential of some hail. It looks like there's a hail core right about here, and that is just northeast of North Vernon, and that is also a location where there's also looks like we have a flash flood warning out because, again, this storm is not moving. So just not a safe place to be currently in Jennings County. Anywhere near North Vernon and just off to the northeast. We now have a brand new flash flood warning for these areas that are also under a tornado warning. So these thunderstorms producing very, very heavy rainfall. Flash flooding, if it isn't occurring now, is expected to begin shortly. Some of the areas that could be under this flash flood because of this very stagnant and sluggish thunderstorm include North Vernon, Vernon, Hayden, Country Squire Lakes, Butlerville, and Nebraska. The potential tornado on the ground is near the Butlerville area and Nebraska and that was reported by the public to law enforcement. So this, again, when we're looking at this and looking inside the storm and looking for the winds, there is not a whole lot of rotation at this time. Here is a look. There is one little pixel that stands out to me. There are some 42-mile-per-hour winds there. So with a storm this strong, it could certainly be causing some isolated damaging wind gusts, if not a tornado. So again, we have that tornado warning that continues for just about 5 more minutes for this location. And let's turn back on our warnings so you can see where we're talking about. So we have 2 flashing areas now. The northern half of Jennings County under a flash flood warning until 1:15 a.m. So if you don't have to be driving around, don't do so. It looks like we could have really high water, especially along and north of Highway 50. Watch out near low-lying areas, flood-prone locations, and flooding is actually one of the #1 most dangerous weather-related things out there. So remember just to turn around, don't drown, don't try to test any flooded creeks. It can wash out. It does not take much water. 6 inches of water can knock you off your feet. A foot or 2 of water, rushing water, can take your car or truck away. So flash flooded warning, serious situation here, especially where that rain just has not stopped. We've been talking here for about 20 minutes or so with this tornado warning, and we'll do an hour loop. And this is just torrential rainfall that just does not seem to want to go away. Let me slow down this loop. I just want to give you an idea of how stagnant this storm is. So just to the northeast of North Vernon, you can see that that has not moved over the last hour near the Brewersville area. So this is putting down probably around 1 inch to 2 inches per hour. And we are looking at a flood potential and also very small potential of a tornado as well. We had that tornado report at about 9:35 to 9:38 when this tornado warning first came out. Usually they don't last very long, but there has been still a little bit of rotation near the Brewersville area, North Vernon, and Nebraska. So this will likely be expired here, this tornado warning, here in just a few minutes. And we will get back to programming after that. And I know we've been zoomed in very closely to Jennings County. Everyone else around here, we do not have a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. There are no other watches or warnings. It is just that northern half of Jennings County that is getting hit really hard by some very heavy rain, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, the potential of some hail, and also that tornado warning just off to the east and northeast of North Vernon. That area of concern is about 50 miles to the north and northeast of Louisville. So that's where we have 2 alerts right now, that brand new flash flood warning for much of Jennings County, including North Vernon, but the biggest area that has been getting hit with nonstop, very heavy rainfall has been right there between Nebraska, North Vernon, and Butlerville and Brewersville, right along Highway 50. This is along a boundary. It's being fed by very warm and humid and tropical air, and this is only reported to be moving at about 5 miles per hour, if that. So it's nearly stationary at this time. And again, we'll do a loop over the last hour. We'll put on the lightning strikes here. And this is just cells training over the same areas. And that is setting up a flash flood situation near North Vernon, the northern half of Jennings County. The heaviest of this is to the north of Seymour now, near the Jonesville area, along and east of that location down Highway 50 and to the north. So we only have a couple more minutes with this tornado warning. It really doesn't look like a high threat at this time. That is very broad and hard to even find rotation. And that report of a tornado was going on a half hour ago. So it looks like that threat of a tornado is very low, if at all now, in this location. It's still a very good idea to stay inside if you are around North Vernon, the northern 2/3 of Jennings County under that flash flood warning. just stay inside until that warning is gone. And I wouldn't venture out, especially if you are near North Vernon and those areas just off to the north where you see those deep red and purple colors is where we could have some hail and also some pretty bad flooding too. That is North Vernon to Brewersville to Nebraska and the Butlerville area. So stay inside until it is safe to do so and these alerts are over with. Again, just one more minute here with the tornado warning. Let me check back in with the National Weather Service. This has expired. This tornado warning has been expired, but the leftover threat now is flash flooding and a lot of cloud to ground lightning strikes. There are no other watches or warnings across the area other than a flood watch that continues until later tonight for Jackson and Jennings County. So it looks like that tornado threat is coming to an end there in northeastern Jennings County, and we will send it back to programming.
If I can't act, what am I supposed to do?
On Thursday, June 21st.
You cannot